Hey everyone, Fabian, Empire Build Academy, and if you've been following recently, you will know that I've started my Zero to Hero series on the game Evony, and alongside that, what I wanted to do was just answer some of the most frequently asked questions from a beginner perspective, such as who are the best generals, how do you get dragons, and the first one, which is how do I grow my power fast. Now, if we go over to the Evony game, in terms of power, the first thing that I will explain, power doesn't always mean strength. But what is important is getting involved with the biggest alliances and certainly being ideally in the top two alliances of a brand new server. And sometimes that genuinely does come with power requirements. So in order to do that, there are a couple of things you can do. Personally, myself, I wouldn't necessarily be looking to rush ahead with power. I think knowledge is more important and making sure that you are growing at a steady pace and benefiting from all of the different events, such as resource competition, when spending resources to upgrade your buildings. All of these kind of things are very important. But if power is a requirement and you feel like you're growing slow, then the power definitely comes from upgrading your higher level buildings. You won't really notice too much of a difference all the way up to K20, even K25. And then beyond that, there will also be a lot of power coming from troop training. And actually, troop training and having a whole bunch of troops, especially high tier troops, is definitely going to make your keep look more desirable to joining the top alliances. But what I personally would do before going down that route is just getting in touch with the alliance leaders of the top two alliances and just explain to them that you are playing the game, you are taking it seriously, you are here for the long term. Make sure you change that monarch name and just explain that although your power might not be as fast as others, you are playing the slow game and will be involved with the game long term. On my Zero to Hero, there are a lot of people that are now 500 million plus. I'm still only 75 million, but I've explained to them it's because of the way I'm doing it and how I'm saving up all of the different things for all of the different events. And actually on Zero to Hero, it's currently still server monarch competition and not tiered monarch competition. The tiered monarch competition is a better event for rewards, and I am personally saving all of my building speed ups, all of my resource consumption, all of that kind of stuff for when that event starts. There's a lot of blood of Ares that can be won from those events, so that is what I would say. In reference other power, of course, you are going to get some power from equipment as well. This is going to be a big driver, so getting to K33 and building your Acmenidae and Fearless equipment is also going to add, and obviously upgrading that equipment as well. And then, of course, also your generals that you've got as well. But the majority of your power will come from your buildings, and it will come from your troop count as well. Next question, what should I focus on first as a beginner? Well, this actually rolls on nicely from the first question, and that is quite simply keep level progression so that you can build your academy up to its maximum level. Joining a strong alliance, I did just mention it, it's crucial, and making sure that you've always got your research on the go, and also making sure you are utilizing all of your building queues. But as I mentioned earlier and in other videos, making sure you are doing whatever it is you need to do alongside the relevant event that's going on. So check your valuable event, check what's going on in here. Currently it is refining stone sprint, which means you gain 1 point for every 1k refining stone consumed. It would be a good time to do research with this going on. Tomorrow this is likely to reset, and I would imagine it'll be resource consumption. So that means when you are doing your big building upgrades, if I was doing keep 39 and going to keep 40, you can see there's a lot of resources being used there. It would be absolutely pointless me doing that today. I should wait for the resource consumption event to start tomorrow. So that's what I would say focusing on as a beginner, is making sure you are matching up whatever you're doing to the different events that are going on. Who are the best generals on the game? This is a question that is always asked, and the answer is no one. And that is genuinely the case. From a beginner's perspective, there's a lot of generals that are being thrown at you all the time, and there are certainly some good ones to be focusing on at the beginning, including King Arthur, who's going to help you in the early stages. But long term, the best general is always the most recent one released by Evony. And the reason I say that is because we need to upgrade our generals to 5-star ascension. So if I go into one of my generals here as an example, and we will use Napoleon Prime, who's a perfect example. And the reason he's a perfect example is because I played this early game and I only got him to 4-star ascension. The reason I only got him to 4-star ascension is because I didn't understand how generals worked. So I'd managed to get him to 4-star. I got plenty of copies of him, but I couldn't go that final star because all of a sudden the general event ended, which comes out every fortnight, meaning I couldn't get what I needed to upgrade Napoleon Prime to that final 5-star. Funnily enough, he's still the best mounted general that I've got, which just shows you how far behind I am, because Napoleon Prime is now very, very old. But if I wanted the next best mounted general to take over from Napoleon Prime, then what I need to do is I need to save 70 general tokens and use it when the next best mounted general is released. If a mounted general got released tomorrow as part of their fortnightly new general, then potentially I could go after that with those 70 tokens, hoping to get 16 copies in total so that I could fully ascend them to the 5 stars. But in answer to the best general, it is always the newest general, and the reason that is because if I went into the Epic Historic General Premium token as an example, the chance details in here will show you exactly what you need to look at. Inside there we can see Francis I of France is the most recent general released by Evony, 15.38%. Doesn't matter what general token you're using, if it is an epic token, and there are a few examples of them out which you can purchase and which come via different methods, I think there's 3 in total, it will always be the most recent general that is the strongest chance of coming out. So if I was to open up 70 tokens, I would expect to potentially see 16 copies of Francis I of France come out. I would then be able to use all of those 16 copies to upgrade him to the 5th star ascension. So to clarify again, the best generals on the game are the newest ones released. How do I get more resources? That's a very interesting question. There are a few methods you can do to do this, including gathering on resource tiles daily, joining alliance rallies, which come with awesome rewards, come from bigger monster rallies. Make sure you upgrade all your production buildings to the maximum level, although I've gone up to level 30. I don't think there's really much need to go beyond that, because it can take a while for you to get back what you've put in, if that makes sense. Maybe 35. If someone can clarify that in the comments, that would be amazing. And then also as well, using farms, it is a thing. Is it against terms and conditions? Probably. Do they do anything about it? Possibly not. But what I would say is there is the potential as well to go farming other people on your server, and especially at the beginning when the game has all of these new people come to the game and leave the game, there is the opportunity to be farming other accounts if it is allowed on your server. And normally there are 2 reasons that this is allowed. Number 1, they're not part of an alliance. Number 2, they are part of an alliance that's outside the top 10. Number 3, they are part of an alliance, but they have the tag name Monarch, and Monarchs are allowed to be hit. But you would need to clarify with your server what you can do. But this is definitely a good way to get some additional resources, especially if you are able to hold a lot when going and attacking and doing that. One of the other tips as well on resources is making sure yourself that you are bubbled and all your resources are protected, because if you're the one on the end of that attack and you've got resources open, then of course they can be stolen. Next question is, how does layering work? Layering means sending small numbers of every troop type to maximize battle mechanics. Without layers, you lose fights you should win. And in reference to what counters what, ground beats range, range beats mounted, mounted beats ground. And in terms of the layering, just to show you an example, let's go back into the main part of the buildings. And we're going to go to my rally spot over here. And you will notice that I have march presets set up all the way across. And just as an example, this is number 4. This has got all the different layers all the way down of 1000. These can be altered to whatever it is you specifically need. There are different reasons for having different troop layers. In order to do that, click and hold this button here, hold it down, and when you hold it down, it will bring up this little box here, and I could change the troop layers inside there. So if I needed 2000 layers instead of the 1000 layers, I click on that, click on enter, and it's going to change everything to 2000 once I've done that. So that is a little tip there. That is how layering works. The normal rule is around the 1000 when attacking someone, and if you've got 1000 of every troop type and then the main one that you need to send, which may be, for argument's sake, T12 ranged, you would have all of your T12 ranged, 2000 layers of every single other troop that you have, so that you can combat the layers that are potentially being sent or what you're defending. So that is how layering works. Dragons and progression. How do you get a dragon? Well, you must unlock the wonder first by ranking in the top 5 in server war, and this is something you need to discuss with your kingdom as to who, what, where, why. The reason I say that is because it's only the top 5 on every server war, then there is a rush for places for opening that first dragon. But the first thing you need is unlock the wonder and then ranking high in server war. What is ghosting is is another question that is popping up a lot, and this is quite simply sending out your troops so they can't be attacked. As an example, you could be in Battlefield, you could be in server versus server, and you might not want your mounted troops, your high tier mounted troops, to be attacked, and you can send them away, or you can ghost them in a rally. Set a fake rally on an opponent where you are hiding all of your high tier mounted troops in there. Once you set that rally, they can't be attacked. Normally you would set this with a 60-minute timer, and then once you need those troops back, you would just then cancel the rally. Ghosting is used very commonly in server war and also kill events, and if you don't ghost properly, then of course there is the potential to be zeroed or those high tier troops being killed. What is bubble discipline is the next question, and that is quite simply making sure that you have a shield on at all times, and they're so frequent on this game that I will show you as an example. If I went into my keep right now and I put on truce agreement, you can see I've got 1,161 24-hour truce agreements. There is no excuse for me not putting one on. Luckily I'm in a server which is very disciplined, server versus server, but as soon as that starts, which would be tomorrow 12 o'clock UK time, not sure what time it is where you are, but making sure that I've got that bubble on every time server war starts is going to not only protect me from being attacked, but potentially protect any resources that I may have open. And you can see I've got 2 billion of the wood as an example that is also being protected with that bubble being attached. The next question is, how does server war actually work? Well, server war, or SVS as it's sometimes called, is server versus server competition. We are server 1429. We will be matched up and against an opponent who's ideally matched to our level, and then from tomorrow, as soon as that server war starts, that is when everything is open and you can get points through PvP, which is player versus player, boss kills on an enemy server, although that is something that you've got to be very careful with, because when you go to an opposition server, then you aren't able to stay bubbled. I think it's 5 minutes every time you port over there, but as soon as those 5 minutes up, your bubble drops and then you are open to be attacked. And just to make you aware, when this happens, it's very easy to find people who are unbubbled on your server. So it's something that is not hidden from the game, and when server versus server starts, if you are on the opponent's server, they will find you, so be aware of that. There's no escaping. Is Evony pay to win? The answer very simply is yes. Every single base building game that's ever been made from the 1980s upwards all the way till now, any brand new ones that come out, every single one of them is pay to win. What I will say is there are some games that are better than others for the free to play. Evony, in my opinion, is one of those games. I've played quite a few of these games over the years, and Evony is definitely one that keeps the free to play, the low spender, the longest. Played King of Avalon, I played Guns of Glory, played Lords Mobile. The free to play, the low spender are not playing that game really after 6 months, a year. Whereas on this one here, if I went into the alliance over here and checked our alliance out and I looked at all of the members, you can see there is a whole bunch of different powers. We've got myself at 2.8 billion, Drakeston is at 22.5 billion, level 47, and then if we went right down into the R3s and stuff, we can see people under a billion quite comfortably. Pete 1000 plays every single day, 524.8 million, only level 36. So what I would say is, if you are smart, you understand the game, and you know how the game works, you are going to be okay on this game as a free to play. The final question that I'm going to answer is, what is the biggest mistake players make? And that is quite simply overtraining troops too early. Also doing things outside of events. This really is not clever at all. And when I say the rewards are really good for matching whatever it is you need to do up to that corresponding event that I showed you earlier in here, there are some really, really good rewards. And just using this one as an example, this is actually quite a weak one, the Refining Stone Sprint, which has recently been changed. But look at the rewards there in here. You're getting treasure boxes, you are getting resources. There is a lot of it about, and if you check out tomorrow's one on the resource side of things, you will see that spending 20 billion, 10 billion, 5 billion resources, whatever it is you are doing, you're going to get some decent rewards for doing it when it is the resource event. Same again with the speed up event. Just to say how I would do that, what I would do is I would upgrade a building tomorrow so that I get the resource side of things, and then I would speed that up the next time the speed up event is, which normally flips around 2 weeks later, and then I would speed up everything there. And that's sort of the routine I get into. On the resource event, spend all your resources. 2 weeks later, speed up event, speed up the buildings that you've just built with the resources you've just used. If that makes sense. So these are just a few simple questions, and I really am going to be digging deep into this game, not only on here, but also on EmpireBuildAcademy.com. I really want to build some of the best guides possible for this game, and all the comments and everyone getting involved is really helping me be able to do that. So if you could continue to do that, that would be amazing. If you're not subscribed to the channel, consider doing so. It really does help me out with the algorithms and stuff. And if Evony is your game, do go and check out some of my other Evony videos, and make sure to check out my new videos that I will be releasing on the game very soon.